Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the first installment of the quarterly series, the Madison Milwaukee Downtown Exchange, which is a series where speakers from the two largest downtowns in Wisconsin share ideas on how the regions can work together in greater collaboration, growth, and investment. There's a lot happening in both downtowns, and we're excited for this year's series. I know I called it a quarterly series, but we're actually going to do 5 this year. I have no idea what that equals, a quintuarly series, but anyway, we're doing 5. So we're very excited to have you all here today with us for our first installment, where we're going to talk to one of the leading visionaries in Wisconsin downtowns, Beth Weirick, the president and CEO of Milwaukee Downtown. And I'm Jason Ilstrup, president of Downtown Madison Inc., and I'll be hosting today's conversation. And today really is a conversation with one of the great leaders in our state, Beth Weirick. Beth has worked in downtown Milwaukee for over 25 years, and she's created an economically strong, equitable, inclusive, and vibrant downtown Milwaukee for everyone. We're going to discuss her career, her passion for people, and all things downtown. It's going to be an excellent discussion here later today. We will have time for question and answer as well. If you have questions for our friend Beth, put them in the chat or in the Q&A function, and we will ask those questions about the last 15 minutes of today's program. But I want to say a huge thank you to all of you for joining us here this morning to discuss downtowns and discuss the importance of our center cities throughout our state, and in particular to Madison and Wisconsin. We would not be here without our friends, though, our partners who make this event happen. Our primary sponsor, our great friends at Reinhardt. We're excited to hear from them in just a second. We also have our great friends at Bolt and Wipfli. First, we're going to start with associate out of the Milwaukee office, Rob Ernest, who I think maybe has the best background we've ever had in our Milwaukee Madison Downtown Exchange. Good morning, Rob. How are you?
Good morning, Jason. Good morning, everyone. Doing great. Really happy to be here with you all this morning. As Jason mentioned, my name is Rob Ernest, and I'm an attorney at Reinhardt Berner Van Duren. If you haven't heard of Reinhardt, we're a full-service law firm with multiple offices around Wisconsin and really all around the country, but we focus on the Midwest. I'm a member of Reinhardt's real estate group, which, if you don't know, we're the largest real estate practice of its kind in the state. Really in the real estate group and throughout the whole firm, we're committed to partnering with groups and individuals who are interested in improving our communities. So with that being said, we're really proud and happy to be the primary sponsor for the Madison and Milwaukee Downtown Exchange. I'm really looking forward to hearing from Beth Weirick today, President and CEO of Bid 21 in Milwaukee. Reinhardt has actually served as legal counsel for Bid 21 in Milwaukee for multiple years. We really enjoyed that partnership with Beth especially. So on behalf of Reinhardt, thank you all for being here this morning and enjoy the conversation.
Well, 2 things. Beth, we'll talk about this later, but apparently we share good legal counsel. So it's good. We also use Reinhardt for our legal counsel, so that's positive. And Rob, let's just talk about your background. That's not fake. You are high up in a building here in Milwaukee. Well, I guess I'm not in Milwaukee, but you're in Milwaukee. That's real. And I guess BMO thanks you for the partnership.
BMO, the unofficial sponsor for today's discussion as well.
Well, I got to say, we're very thankful for BMO. They have big offices in both our downtowns. So Rob, thank you for all you do. You really are working very hard to make sure we have the built environment and all the real estate we have in our 2 cities. There's so much development happening, and I know you're a part of it in both cities. Next up, we've got our good friend and area manager for the Bolt Company, Eric Wynn. Speaking of building the downtowns, this is a company that is literally building the downtowns. Good morning, Eric. How are you?
Good morning, Jason. Thanks for having me this morning. I'm Eric Wynn with the Bolt Company. I'm privileged to serve as the area manager for our Milwaukee operation. On behalf of Bolt, we're proud to sponsor DMI and the Madison Milwaukee Downtown Exchange Series. For those of you unfamiliar with Bolt, we are a 135-year-old family-managed and employee-owned construction company with deep roots here in Wisconsin, where Bolt first opened up our doors, and now we have 18 offices nationwide. So we help our clients meet our commercial construction needs by providing innovative solutions in diverse markets, including education, healthcare, industrial, life science, energy, and automotive. As an employer of of offices in both Madison and Milwaukee, we share the same interests as I'm sure many of you do. We want to see the downtowns of both locations thrive. To do this, we need to continue to support downtown development related to business, real estate, industry, and culture. This will ensure our downtowns remain a place where local people want to live, work, and play, while also creating a vibrant destination of tourism. So I look forward to today's discussion addressing the importance of downtowns in our two fine cities. Thank you so much for DMI and Milwaukee Downtown for collaborating and hosting today's discussion. I really look forward to it. Have a great morning.
You too, Eric. And honestly, thank you. Can we use that recording as a pitch for both of our organizations for our downtowns? You're in.
All right. Sounds great.
Again, thank you to our great friends at the Bolt Company, our friends at Reinhardt and Whipfleet for all of your support. We also want to say a huge thanks to our friends at Milwaukee Downtown. We wouldn't be able to do this without Beth, Matt, Rebecca, Erica, and the entire team at Milwaukee Downtown. So speaking of which, we're going to give a quick update on things that are happening in both of our downtowns in 2024 before we begin our conversation with our good friend, Beth Weirick. We've got Matt Dorner, Director of Economic Development for Milwaukee Downtown, and our partner, direct partner in this series. I think I send him 100 emails a year just on this series alone, so sorry for filling your inbox. But anyway, besides that, besides paying attention to my emails, how is everything in Milwaukee Downtown?
Good morning, everybody, and thanks, Jason. And you're happy to send me an email anytime that you need. And this is, I'm absolutely thrilled. I think we're entering our third season of the Downtown Exchange, something that with some of our sponsored friends, we're able to birth during the pandemic and really find a way to connect with our friends, obviously in Wisconsin's two largest cities, to share opportunities and challenges and best practices. So we've been able to talk with industry leaders about catalytic projects, workforce issues, quality of life issues, and we really look forward to continuing this partnership and all the things that we're going to be able to continue to bring forward to our guests in both cities and really across the state in 2024. Yeah, we're really excited for our banner year in downtown Milwaukee and really the southeastern region. Hot off the heels of multiple announcements welcoming Milwaukee Tool in a couple of weeks here. Pfizer will be moving several hundred employees into their new downtown headquarters. Software One moving into the historic Third Ward, and just recently, since the start of this year, Allspring Investments, and just yesterday, Enerpac announcing several hundred employees moving into the downtown area. In just the last couple of years alone, we're monitoring over 7,500 new jobs that have been committed to the downtown market. Not only on experiencing something that really is helping to outpace a lot of our peer cities. In 2024, we look forward to opening two of the tallest residential towers in the state's history. Well, will the Couture be the tallest residential tower? So the residential growth, several thousand units under construction. Really excited about that. We'll be opening up the expansion of the Wisconsin Convention Center, welcoming the RNC and several other, hotel, entertainment, and a lot of different projects across all industry categories. We're looking forward to breaking ground on anyone that's been following Milwaukee Downtown knows that we're heavily involved in delivering downtown's first dog park project. So we look forward to breaking ground on that this year as well. So just a lot of really excitement, really great momentum. Milwaukee, as well as Madison, we'll hear from you shortly, is really, continues to be sort of a national leader in terms of recovery statistics. And we look forward to building on that momentum. And, I'm going to turn it back to you here to hear a little bit about Madison, and then, and obviously introduce it and go into the discussion with Beth here, who I've had an honor of working with for the past 9 years in Milwaukee Downtown. So again, super excited about the series, excited about what's going on in downtown Milwaukee and the city as a whole, and excited to hear from Beth. I'll turn it back to you.
We're excited. We're excited as well, Matt. And let me just ask a question. 7,500 new jobs moving to your downtown right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Massive, double down from Northwestern Mutual, Milwaukee Tool, like I said, Pfizer, big, really big economic development wins.
Let me be very clear. That is not the norm in downtowns across the country. So that is exceptional work by you, by Beth, by the entire team at Milwaukee Downtown. And lastly, you do read your emails because you got the email that you and I should wear the exact same suit coat. So that's positive. Yeah. So we could match. We look good. I should have worn the light blue shirt, but we can only get so much happening. All right. So what's happening here in downtown Madison? We also are growing very, very strongly. And I want to say a lot of that is because of the interplay between our two cities. Both cities are thriving in many ways and in different ways, and many of those different ways complement each other very well. And here in downtown Madison, we are proud to be just about a year behind Milwaukee downtown in launching our own strategic visioning plan. It's a public-private partnership with the city of Madison, a first of its kind. We're going to bring in a national expert here in Q2 and Q3 to start this work. It's going to be very important to do this work, to understand what should we be doing in the public space? What should the storefront mix look like? What should the activation, the governance, what are the catalytic projects that we need to have here in downtown? It's a lot of important work that we need to understand because there are many very large projects happening right in the downtown. And these are projects that we are watching very closely. First is the Lake Monona waterfront. It's a 1.7-mile stretch between Machinery Row and Olin Park. It's going to completely transform how the downtown interfaces with the waterfront for years to come. This truly is a once-in-a-generation opportunity, and we're on track to start that construction in 2026 and 27 as John Nolan Causeway gets redone. It's just going to be the first of many phases of construction, but DMI and all of our sister organizations are working hard to make sure we see that important project come to fruition. What's Madison's greatest competitive advantage? It's that we're an isthmus. We're one of only 2 downtowns that are an isthmus, but yet you really can't access Lake Monona very well from the lake. We're trying to right that wrong. We also have this summer the experiment on the temporary closure of the 400 through 600 blocks of State Street. Now, no offense, Beth, but we call that Wisconsin's Main Street. Probably there's 1,000 other communities that disagree with us, but there we go. We'll be controversial. The city is doing an experiment to temporarily close off State Street, and we're excited to help with that project. And then, of course, the top of State, where the Capitol meets the beginning of State Street and the university. There's a couple of amazing projects. The New History Center will start their construction, and the Veterans Museum continues to plumb with theirs as well. And then when it comes to development, we feel very strong about development. Madison has the highest demand rate of any city in the country. There's a lot of people moving here, but we're also not building fast enough is what that tells us. But we do have 8,000 apartment units in the works as we speak. I think there's 8 or 9, 10 tower cranes up. So we're feeling very good about the downtown, but we need to continue to put a foot on the gas and continue to advocate for our downtown. So there's an update. We also have an update on what's going to happen with this series for the rest of the year. We planned out some really good programs for the rest of the year. Later on this year, we're going to talk about the potential expansion of the Hiawatha train, which is the very successful train, one of the most successful trains in the country outside of the Eastern Seaboard that currently runs between Chicago and Milwaukee. We would love to get connected to that as well. And there's a lot of significant work happening. We're going to talk about the importance of large events and conventions. Matt mentioned the Republican National Convention. We're going to do that right before, and the importance of these large conventions for our cities. We're also going to talk about the importance of arts and music in our downtowns. And lastly, we're going to save it, tap off the end of the year. We're going to have a panel discussion with other leaders from Midwestern downtowns about what's important in their downtowns and learn best practices from them. All right. You didn't come to hear from me. You came to hear from the amazing Beth Weirick. Now, we're going to go over her career, so we're not going to do much of an introduction, but I want to be very clear to you all. Her importance, over 25 years of leading Milwaukee downtown. She is not only a downtown expert in Milwaukee, in her region, but in the state of Wisconsin, and most importantly, in the nation. People don't understand how important the work that Beth and her team are doing in assisting people experiencing homelessness, in communications and in operations in the downtown, in the placemaking realm, in economic development. What her and her team are doing are cutting edge, progressive, and innovative. And Beth has been doing this for over 25 years. And to be quite honest with you, 25 years ago, jobs like ours did not exist. They've really grown in the last 5 to 10 years. She is an iconic leader in this industry, and I'm proud to call her, importantly, a mentor, but more importantly, a friend. What she has done for every downtown in our community is so important, and what she does for downtown Madison is equally as important as what she does for downtown Milwaukee. So we are very excited to chat with our good friend, Beth Weirick. Beth, good morning. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks so much, Jason. Really appreciate it. I'm sure you had a conversation with my mom this morning before that introduction.
I did, and your kids. I know you are a proud
Probably,
mom, and
yeah.
I am a new recent proud
Yeah,
dad. And I
I
know
know.
both of your kids. You know, you're just an amazing person. So thank you. And I hope this is a great platform so all of us can learn about your wisdom about downtowns. Because from an early age, Beth, you've really been connected to Milwaukee downtown in particular, but into downtowns. Where did that early connection come from? For you got your energy from the vibrancy of downtowns, and you got your energy, and you shop downtown. Why were downtowns so important to you from an early age?
I was really fortunate to grow up in a family that was very Milwaukee based, and I'm talking city of Milwaukee. We grew up on the west side of Milwaukee and attended local schools here. But growing up with a very very tight knit. Intergenerational family, lived across the street from my grandparents, aunts and uncles coming over every Friday night after the fish fry and Tuesday night to watch, Wheel of Fortune and conversations around the dinner table, but also family members that lived throughout the country in or near other downtowns, Minneapolis, St. Paul, Detroit. So the way I was raised was really, our travel consisted of loading the 6 kids and mom and dad into the wood paneled station wagon. And really, our adventures were always, always, always to other cities. And when we weren't doing that as a family, my dad loved to do Sunday road trips after church. And, we were always exploring not only downtown Milwaukee, but all of our urban neighborhoods. So I was raised with just this curiosity about places and before placemaking was even a term. And I never had an idea that this would end up being my career, but I think all of us as we grow up we have these memories of spaces that we're in and how they touch us and how we are cognizant of how important that placemaking is and how when you're in a space how it makes you feel. And you recognize at a very very young age the way movement occurs, whether it's pedestrian or vehicular or an elderly person walking with a cane or a woman in high heels or somebody pushing at that time a baby buggy. I don't think we use that term anymore, but growing up in a family that was very city and urban focused, I've seen a lot of ebbing and flowing in Detroit. I call Detroit now the Great American Comeback City. I grew up going to Detroit to visit my relatives there. I saw Detroit at its peak. I saw it at its, at the bottom and now coming back again. Visiting St. Paul and Minneapolis, growing up. And I think my biggest memory myself um, as a teenager, we took the bus everywhere, we rode our bikes everywhere growing up, all over the city, didn't have cell phones, maybe had a dime for the payphone. But getting off the number 10 bus, my very first concert, like grown up concert with my high school friends, going to Mecca to see Boston Foghat. And I think REO Speedwagon, yeah, great show. But I remember very specifically getting off that number 10 bus and looking around, and I had like a shiver. And unfortunately it wasn't the greatest shiver. It was lots of concrete, felt dark, like I remember that moment in my life, like there's so much more we could do in our downtown, swear to goodness. Never did I know that later on I would be engaged with the opportunity to be in a position and work with teams that were very focused on the way in which we create our spaces and add vibrancy to our spaces. So, yeah, from an early age, I don't know when it started, but I grew up with that. So, my love of cities really runs very deep within me.
You talk about that story about having that chill, some positive, some negative. Clearly, that memory has held on for you for your entire career, and you've tried to make downtowns more warm, to use that same sort of metaphor for other folks. And how did those early memories, how do they still stay with you today in the work that you do for Milwaukee downtown?
Well, again, it's that innate, like the memory, the smell, the taste, the sound, the feel, the vibe that you get. I think it was instilled in me at a really early age, and you realize that there's this calling of being cognizant of those spaces. We talked today about how important it is to activate public realm. We talk about how important it is to have complete streets. I think I was just very much aware that if you were in a space that was friendly to multiple generations, from newborn babies all the way to elderly and everything in between, then you're creating a space where there is connectivity. My mom and dad were very blue collar individuals. My dad was an auto mechanic and my mom worked at JCPenney's warehouse. And I feel like I was so blessed because I got to know a lot of different people, not only generationally, but socioeconomically variables across the board. And so I was so fortunate to not grow up in a homogenous family or homogenous home, and to really understand and celebrate a variety of cultures and belief systems, and to make space for other people. And for me, that's what downtown represented, even as I was growing up. I mean, it was a different downtown, but it impacted me significantly. And I will always touch on, whatever we do, if our work positively impacts families and children and elderly people, then our work is successful, right? We're building spaces for everyone.
I mean, you've been a proponent of the concept of an 880 city for a long time, right? If you build it for an 8-year-old and an 80-year-old, it's going to be for everybody else. And one of the seminal moments in your life, obviously, you put being a mother first above anything else, right? And you brought a couple of amazing kids into this world. How did becoming a parent change your view on downtowns?
Well, I mean, I wish my kids were here for this one.
We should have brought them in. We should have brought them.
Oh God. Well, Justin, who, even when he was a little boy, my son Justin, who owns Sift Medical, who has chosen to, to build his company and to grow it here in Milwaukee. And Milwaukee is damn lucky to have Justin Nichols and Sift Medical. I always called him the senator, because from a little boy on, Justin and Shauna were always in tow with me. And it was before it was hip to bring your kids everywhere. It was something that was, necessary. And I think, they grew up in an environment where they were really exposed to a pretty phenomenal community, whether it was lit drops or, phone banks, or, sitting in my office doing their homework when I was working on an RFP or an RFQ. But my kids grew up, and when you see your community through the eyes of your children, I think it just really reinforces, we're doing this, we're building this for our children and for our families, whether it's your nieces or nephews, your own children. And I think what's important is creating that space where your children want to stay. Yes, go, be free, leave, go explore. I think we all need to explore the world if you can. But I always wanted my children to come back home to Milwaukee, which they did. And Shauna, she played pro ball overseas. And for those of you who don't know, DJ Shauna, the Milwaukee Bucks DJ, is my daughter, but she's so many other things, and she's fantastic and wonderful. And she oozes love for Milwaukee as well, and she's had the opportunity to travel. But what I love is their genuine love and commitment to the city of Milwaukee. And I think so much of it is because we all own a piece of it, not just me and my family, but family and friends and our community as a whole. And you recognize, we all dig deep to invest in our communities. So we're building communities for our children, for our grandchildren, for our nieces, for our nephews, for the generations to come, for the future leaders that are coming behind us. And hopefully we're setting that great example and giving them a space that is safe, that is energizing, and that is full of vibrancy, and the possibilities are endless. I always used to tuck them into bed at night and just say, reach for the stars.
Okay. I have a 1-year-old, so I think I now have a new tradition that I'm going to tuck Mateo in and say, reach for the stars. But look,
Mateo.
oh, Mateo, yeah. Anyway, you know, your kids are doing so much to add vibrancy to Milwaukee into downtown in particular. The apple does not fall far from the tree. You must be so proud, such a proud mother to see the great work they're doing and the impact they're having on so many in the community.
Oh, I am. And, again, um, the fact that my kids have chosen to make Milwaukee their home, and my youngest granddaughter, Devin Elizabeth, is turning 2 today. So happy birthday, Devin. Um,
Are we going to sing? I think we may need to sing.
Oh, I sang to her this morning already. I sent a video.
Perfect.
Yeah. But
I love
and I'm super blessed. I married Joe Weirick, and my late husband who died in 2017. And I have 3 great, phenomenal bonus kids because of my relationship with Joe, and 6 grandkids from Lindsay and Marianne. They're all in the Milwaukee area. And David, my stepson, who lives in my home that I used to live in. And what I love is how the entire family loves and supports Milwaukee. And it doesn't matter what event, what concert, what performance. All of those kids are growing up in this city, and it's just significantly important. And I'm proud of each and every one of them. We've done our job when our children are healthy and they have integrity and work ethic and a value system, where they care about not only themselves, but they're civic minded and they're lifelong learners. And then they set those examples for their children as well. So I recognize every single day, how thankful I am, and for the gratitude of all of those blessings that come through having this beautiful, wonderful family.
Well, you just talked about how you hope your mother was listening. I'm now going to say I hope my mother is not listening, because I've moved away from my hometown of downtown Minneapolis. And so, yeah, I've taken her grandchild away from her. One of the most important influence, it seems to me, was early in your career working for the city of Madison and understanding bureaucracy and being part of the government, having wonderful leadership in the city. How important was that work you had, 20 some years ago, over 30 years ago, to your work still today?
Yeah, well over 30 years ago, Jason.
I was trying, I'm not dating. I'm not dating.
Oh, and I don't care. I mean, I hope, we're talking about grandkids. I hope I model well, aging gracefully and always being a lifelong learner. But I'll tell you, at an early age, again, and we talk about, the influence of our families. I had an extraordinarily active, my grandfather, Emil Janik, and Lillian Janik, my grandmother, tremendously involved and engaged in community. And the reason this is so important is, it was instilled within me to, be part of community and be active. Yesterday was election day. You don't miss an election. My grandmother worked at the polls. We were actively involved in having family conversations around community and around representation and around what is it that we're doing to volunteer, to be of service. I grew up in the service industry, super America, and I was a waitress and I was a bartender. I worked in a dry cleaner, and I was fortunate enough to, run across the pathway of the local alderman, who at the time was looking for a legislative assistant. And I remember getting that phone call and thinking like, well, I haven't graduated from college yet, but the being cognizant, of opening and making space. This person saw in me, my love of caring for people and my love of community, and my customer service and hospitality skills. And he gave me the opportunity. That was Greg Gorak, to become his legislative assistant. And I went from working 3 jobs as a very young woman, and a young mother of Shauna, and went into working at City Hall as a legislative assistant. So all of a sudden I had an office and I had my own phone, and I was working, reasonable hours, if you will, only maybe 45 hours a week. But the opportunity to move into transferring that, that customer service skills into working for the council member, and working and helping constituents who were having issues and concerns in the community, but then also learning the ins and outs around the way in which ordinances were adopted and approved, and fiscal impacts, and the way in which legislation was discussed, and the way in which the city budget process happened, and the way in which the various departments functioned. And I had the opportunity to work under Henry, not for, but while Henry Meyer was mayor, and of course, John Norquist, and for a minute Marvin Pratt, and then Tom Barrett, and now Chevy Johnson. And you get to really see the inner workings, and really good, decent people who are servant leaders. And so much of that is transferable into the work that every single one of us do. But I also had the opportunity to work for State Senator Barbie Lichny, and working in Madison, and then seeing how those gears turn or don't, um, as we're representing our communities. And Barb represented downtown Milwaukee, and that's another transferable experience. I was on a committee of 5 people that created Jazz in the Park, as the senator's representative, and then working for DCD and downtown Dan McCarthy. There is no university that could have given me the mentoring and the lifelong learning opportunities that all of these spaces and places and people gave me to prepare me to do the work that I was intended to do on this earth.
Well, just a reminder, a quick, we're halfway there. Any questions you have for Beth, send them in the chat or in the Q&A function. We'll ask them at the end of the session. So you talked about this education, right? This arc and sort of growing, and you really were working in a lot of these downtown spaces, and you transfer that into working for Westtown, right? And when that happened, I mean, the downtown management industry really was in its infancy. There wasn't a playbook for you. So what did you use as a playbook, and who were your role models in other downtowns to try to build that work up in the Westtown Association?
Yeah. So when I had the opportunity to work for the Westtown Association, so Westtown is the neighborhood west of the river in downtown Milwaukee, and and I knew it was quite a challenge. And the Westtown Association board was very committed and very dedicated. We had the Zilber family properties represented at that time, Town Realty. We had the Milwaukee Public Museum, who was engaged, of course, at that point in time. And we had usingers involved. We had individuals who were really focused on, we must preserve and we must invest and we must attract. The challenge of west of the river was always that we had these super blocks. We had these civic buildings, we had the courthouse, we had the fire and police administration building, we had the museum, we had Mecca at the time. And so how do you create a sense of place and create a neighborhood and connect relationships, and build that community, when you have these very, very large civic institutions? And so for Westtown, it was really about, it's funny because, placemaking was a thing then. We just didn't have a terminology for it, right? And I look at the things that we did. The city stopped funding the public, the farmers market on 4th in Wisconsin. Westtown, we decided, that was one of our first actions at my first board meeting. Let's take this on. Let's create the Westtown Farmers Market. We very shortly after that created an outdoor music series in Pere Marquette Park, River Rhythms. We wanted to do something spectacular and memorable to really put Westtown on the map. And I remember working with, I had learned about this traveling hot air balloon show and had always heard about it in Albuquerque. And we did this event on Michigan Street called Milwaukee Aglow. And it was these hot air balloons, and people thought we were crazy. They thought we were nuts. At Westtown, we brought the St. Patrick's Day Parade back to downtown Milwaukee, where it was initially launched. And, we did a lot to create community. And I can remember Library Hill, working with John Wellhafer at Milwaukee, what was called MRC then, Milwaukee Redevelopment Corporation, and the assemblage of those properties to be able to build this premier housing development with Mandel Group and Barry Mandel. And people thought we were nuts, and who's going to want to live there? And, Westtown, the playbook was creating neighborhood. You know, I talked earlier about it doesn't matter where you are, you're creating this sense of place and creating this neighborhood. But so much of it is developing those partnerships, the collaboration, the commitment, working with people who were filled with tenacity and who were optimistic and who saw the potential. And so much of what I learned at the city and working at the state was absolutely transferable, you know, and we look at all of us, we look at our careers, and we're always learning. We're constantly learning what we learn and then how we take that to whatever it is the next chapter of that career is. And in Westtown, I was so fortunate to have great leadership, to work with developers and investors who saw potential and really believed in it. I remember, I think one of the greatest projects I got to be involved in, you know, I wasn't even 30 years old, and advocating at the state level to get the funding to build what was then the Midwest Airlines Convention Center. You know, so, and people said we were crazy and nuts and it wouldn't happen because there was also advocacy going on at the state level to get the new stadium built. So, you know, you recognize if it's something that's right and it's something you believe in, you dig deep and you find that and you build those relationships to get it across the finish line.
I love that last line. It's absolutely right, and how full circle that now you've come back, and we're how long away from the expanded now not no longer Midwest Airlines Center. You know, it's just so exciting to see. Are they going to serve the cookies in the Midwest Airlines? I miss those cookies. Remember
You
the
know,
cookies?
it's the Baird Center,
I
Jason.
know,
So
but
they're gonna
Baird
serve
needs
up.
to get some cookies or something so that we
Well,
can. Yeah,
you know, what's interesting, the Baird Center is opening in May, and I hope to see everybody at
amazing.
the gala. And Marty Brooks has done a phenomenal job, and their leadership has done a phenomenal job. And Peggy Williams Smith, my God, what a believer and cheerleader in the city, and, you know, selling this city and filling that space. But Baird is what I love about Baird, not only naming the building and making it possible financially, but they are 100% committed to community engagement, and they get it. They get the activation of these third spaces and the public realm, and they've got a space called Baird Community Commons that we're partnering with them on. And how can we create activations? How can we welcome, you know, the citizens of Milwaukee in to experience all that the city has to offer? So, you know, watch for more information about that. But very exciting. And I know Matt touched on all of the investments that we have going on in downtown Milwaukee. And really what it comes down to is we work every single day to take care of our house.
Yeah, it's amazing. And you continue to build those partnerships. I mean, you build partnerships with organizations like ours. It's great to see Baird being a wonderful partner. So then you transitioned from Westtown into the current role now. Why the transition to become the CEO of Milwaukee Downtown?
Well, when I was working at Westtown, there was not a downtown business improvement district. You know, back in the day, there was a downtown association in the 60s and 70s that went away. And then the neighborhoods within downtown formed their own associations, if you will. So, you know, Easttown, Westtown, Third Ward. Of course, you have the Riverwalk district. Now we have the Theater district. I love that we have all these neighborhoods. I know it can get convoluted and confusing, but it's okay because they all have their personalities and they all have their assets. But when we were doing work at the Westtown Association, you know, we were doing things like we had a street ambassador program, and it was an experimental program. And I remember Time Insurance, we wrote a grant and got money from Time Insurance, and we had a street ambassador that was walking around the streets and got to know the businesses and let people know things that were going on, and was cognizant when there was graffiti or when there were issues. And, you know, we worked then with our community liaison officer at the police department, and we did septed studies for our businesses. And we brought back holiday decorations, but it was all up and down Wisconsin Avenue, west of the river, little mini white lights in the windows. And we decorated inside the windows to make downtown feel festive for the holidays. We worked with the Department of City Development in the city of Milwaukee on creating a graffiti removal program because we had a lot of graffiti back then. Um, and we did a lot of advocacy, and there were property owners west of the river that also owned properties east of the river, and they really wanted these quality of life benefits, if you will. And Town Realty had properties on both sides of the river. Tom Bernacki, who was vice president of real estate for Town Realty, was also West Town's board chair. And he really is the one, may he rest in peace. I miss him immensely. He's the one who did the deep dive and he did the work. And he took over 2 years to build community support to create a downtown business improvement district because he was very focused, as well as other investors in downtown Milwaukee, in recognizing how important these quality of life services were and recognizing our municipality was dealing with fiscal constraints. And we could all say, not our responsibility, right? But he chose to create a mechanism where we could gather assessments and we could begin to address those quality of life initiatives. And to this day, those core services that really the bid was created for, the clean, the safe, the friendly, in all of our research and talking to anybody in all of our downtowns and all of our communities, if our downtown, if our neighborhood, if our front yard is not clean, if we do not feel safe, and if we do not feel like we're part of community, it isn't successful and it isn't therefore community. And Tom really saw that, and his leadership is really what worked to get the bid 21 in place, along with partnerships with the city and Northwestern Mutual, and at that time, Grand Avenue and other very Shell Lubar, the real estate community, recognizing we needed to do more to be competitive in our marketplace and to stop the bleed, because we were losing offices, we were losing tenants, we were losing to suburban office parks, and nothing against them, but wanted to really reinvest in our community. And it really made sense. And I'll tell you, at that point in time, I had become up to my eyeballs, enthralled with the International Downtown Association, and just so much to learn about what my peers across the country were doing to make their downtowns more competitive. So I went after that position once that organization was created with gusto. It was like there was just something in me, and it was absolutely, this is the work that I am intended to do. And I had some stiff competition, but I'll tell you what, Jason, I have never looked back, and I am so fortunate for the belief that people had that we could do this and we could get this done, and that people gave me an opportunity to be part of this phenomenal team. Oh, you're on mute. I wish I could read lips. Well, that's okay. While you're doing this, I think a funny story just hit me, and I think all of us can relate to this. And interrupt whenever you get your volume back. But I remember interviewing for the job for bid 21. Of course, coming from west of the river, and in my interview, how concerned property owners who only owned properties east of the river were that I was only going to care about the properties west of the river. So, it's still that mentality of competition that always exists. I hope I've proven that I am equally a lover of all neighborhoods of downtown. So I think, Jason, I'm going to let you, I'm reading your lips, but so I'm going to do a time check for you. It's 8:45. So it's weird having Jason Ilstrup silenced, something I'm not accustomed to. Jason, while I hope you can hear me, but I think some of the, are you there? Jason, I think the first time I can't hear you yet, but I think the first time I met you, Jason, was, I can't remember, but I know we worked together with our work with Wisconsin Downtown Action Council, which you are now on the board. A shout out to all of our partners at the Wisconsin Downtown Action Council. This is a statewide organization where we all shared best practices and our commitments, whether it was Main Street communities, connect communities, bids or NIDS. So all of my colleagues and partners that I've worked with throughout Wisconsin Downtown Action Council, all of our conversations around best practices, around funding. And if you're not involved with Wisconsin Downtown Action Council, please do get involved. There are many great individuals who are leading our communities across the country. And then, of course, I look at the work that we're doing in the city of Milwaukee with all of our NIDs and our bids, and just can't stress enough how important the work is that each and every one of you are doing in your neighborhoods and in your communities. I know oftentimes you're dealing with very small budgets, and I know when our bid was created, it was very difficult to try to be all things to all people. I think what is critical is focusing again on those core services and making sure that we're paying attention to the clean and the safe and the friendly. Um, so, do I hear you now? No.
Oh, do you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes,
Oh my God.
yes.
Okay,
So
so
I'm
let
sorry
me
if I
be
was
very clear
blabbering.
with what just happened for those that are not paying attention in the background. My computer crashed, and then you barely knew anything because Beth just kept going like there was no problem at all. Were you ever on the news? Did you ever like handle like a big tornado or something like that? Because that was cool, calm, and collected, and I was losing my marbles on the other side. So well done, Beth. That's why we're talking about you here today and not me.
Well, sorry if I was blubbering on and on, but
No, you covered it perfectly.
yeah.
So apologies for anyone. I lost everything here at the mothership here in Madison, but we're back now. I could only partially hear what you had, but I want to get back to IDA and another board that you were on, the Wisconsin Downtown Action Council. You were an integral part of both of these two organizations and how they've led the downtowns through our state with Wisconsin Downtown Action Council, our nation and internationally with IDA. You've had a huge imprint. Why is being part of IDA so important? And why is it so important that we can learn best practices from other downtowns across the country and across the world?
Yeah, I did touch on the
Oh,
International
you
Downtown
did?
Association, but no, that's okay. But that's okay because I
Oh,
think I always want to put in perspective, what is it that I can share with others that can inspire and motivate? And that is, I think, something that was instilled in me with Wisconsin Downtown Action Council and all of my phenomenal peers that were brilliant and inspirational and supportive, as well as the International Downtown Association, made up of representatives who are engaged in this industry work across the globe, candidly. And I think it is important. I certainly have enormous gratitude for those that served in mentorship roles for me as I was extraordinarily young in this industry, and who opened doors and who shared their intellectual property with me, who shared best practices with me. And I've learned that that is exactly what the International Downtown Association, or IDA as we call it, is. And I know you're heavily engaged in it. You're on the board now, and you recognize how important it is to preserve our downtowns, and no matter how big or how small, and to invest in our communities, because our downtowns are really the heartbeat of our communities, our regions, our states, and our country. And what I love about that is downtown is everybody's neighborhood, and we contend with a lot of issues. My peers, were so supportive. We had multiple meetings every week with IDA during COVID. And what are you doing to cope? How are you keeping your teams together? How are you keeping community together? And now the conversations of, coming out of that pandemic, what are we doing relative to underutilized buildings and conversions of spaces? What are we doing at the federal level to advocate for our cities in America? What are we doing in terms of addressing some of the new issues that we're contending with? You touched earlier on dealing with our unsheltered population and, treating all of our citizens with dignity and respect. And what are the best practices that we have here, and how are we as downtowns connecting to our other neighborhoods. So through IDA, I have just been extraordinarily fortunate to work with some wonderful people who, all across the board. There's no degree that you can get that can teach you all of these things that I have been so fortunate to learn from my peers and other cities across America and across the globe. I know you can attest to that as well.
Well, absolutely. And you've continued to pass on that knowledge and that leadership and that experience onto folks like me. And I am forever thankful. All right, we've got some questions in the chat. I've got more questions. Put those through. My last question for you, though, is what are you most proud of in your time as CEO of Milwaukee Downtown?
Well, it's hard, it's difficult, but I think at the end of the day, I'm so excited for all of the work that we've done. And I know how blessed I am to be in a community where we have an administration, Mayor Johnson and his team, and all of the departments that we work with, DCD and that planning group, and Department of Public Works, and our local elected officials, a downtown alderman who understands the importance of investing in downtown, people understanding the value proposition of downtown. Those relationships, I think, are critical. And no matter what we do, if people don't trust you, you have nothing. You have no foundation to build any of this upon. And we're contending with commercial property owners who believe in us, who year after year after year are paying these bid assessments, and who are supportive when Matt Dorner is presenting, let's build a downtown dog park, right? And when we're talking about the installation of larger than life public art, and the utilization of our bid assessments to create what some people might say are crazy wild events or activations, but people recognize that tie again to community. And then again, intellectually, you've got to be able to measure that ROI and how it really does impact us economically, and how it is an economic generator, and how it is important to create spaces where you can attract a workforce, and you can attract a residential population, and you can attract investment, because you create these spaces that people want to live and work and play and raise their family and visit. So, I think when you say, the thing I'm most proud of, it is the fact that we have a community where we have great collaboration, and we can work together as a team, and we can get projects across the finish line, and we are seeing the results. And downtown Milwaukee is here, and we will continue to grow and excel. And that's what I'm proud of, is the tenacity that this community has and the belief we have in our downtown.
Well, that tenacity stems from you, and thank you for your leadership. It's incredible, and we can feel it here in Madison. And I think we're so proud of the deeper connections that we've been able to form between the two largest downtowns, and we're going to sail together, right? We're going to head in the same direction. We're going to sail faster and better than we have before, because there's so much happening in both of our downtowns. All right, got a couple of quick questions. The first question, and I might be able to answer this, but I can certainly send it to Beth, was, is there an update on the Hiawatha extension between Milwaukee and Madison? Beth, I could certainly take that question if you want, or do you? Okay. So actually, there's been some really positive news. The federal government appropriated $2.5 million to study 5 separate routes throughout the state of Wisconsin and extend and expand passenger rail throughout the state, including lines from Milwaukee to Green Bay up into Eau Claire, more service to Superior. But obviously, one of the main ones was $500,000 to study the extension of the Hiawatha line currently runs from Chicago to Milwaukee into Madison, I think about 4 times a week. This is big, important news, because it means the federal government is very interested in investing in that line. Currently, the city of Madison is going through a station siting study. So they're looking at 8 different stations, 6 of them in the downtown area, and 2 nearer to the Oscar Mayer facility. That's happening now. So if you're interested in where those stations go, and you're in Madison or in Milwaukee, please have that viewpoint heard. But we feel very positive, and I'm hoping by, say, early 2030s, we're going to see that train between the two cities. Second question, I send this to Beth, and I think it's important from your time and your history that we certainly are not seeing as much home ownership in the downtown as we've seen in years past. There's not as many condo projects. We only know of a couple here in the downtown Madison, but there were significant amounts in the 90s and the early aughts. How important is home ownership to the downtown? And are we going to see potentially more home ownership projects in and around the downtown area and really improve that mix of housing in our downtowns?
Yeah, thanks. That's a great question. And trust me, it's something residential brokers are always asking us is when are we going to see more condos become available in the downtown marketplace? And Mike Rositka, Greater Milwaukee Association of Realtors, and I are continually having conversations about attracting that type of a development. You know, we've seen the financial success of how the apartment model is working in the community. So putting together, your finance stack, it seems to be more beneficial to investors and developers right now in the residential, in the apartment realm. We are hoping that that does change. We know when condos go on the marketplace right now, they're not there for long and they're getting over asking price. And more, if we are truly to become more of an international destination for people to bring their families and relocate here, and we welcome them, we see more and more people who say, I want to raise my kids downtown. This is where arts and culture and community intersect. So I'm hoping that we can at some point develop a model that will be more attractive for condominium development. So, put the pressure for those of you who know developers or are developers in the residential market. We welcome your investment in creating more condominiums and maybe even homes in downtown. I don't know that from a density perspective, we'll be able to ever build individual homes in downtown Milwaukee, but certainly condominiums. So it is absolutely on our radar screen. I think diversified housing is critically important as we continue to grow downtown Milwaukee from every single part of living, working, and playing. And residential is one of our goals and objectives, owner occupied.
Well, I want to bring back Matt Dorner here, your colleague at Milwaukee Downtown, because we both want to say, Beth, thank you. Thank you for the work that you've done for downtowns across Wisconsin, for your own downtown Milwaukee, for what we've done here in Madison, but across the country. I said it in the beginning, I'm proud to call you both my mentor and my friend, and I cannot wait. I mean, she's not retiring or anything. We're many years left in the downtown business. We're so excited to have this continued run of Beth Weirick doing amazing things in downtown. So thank you for being with us, and thank you for the partnership, Beth. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for your energy and your love and your leadership, Jason. Appreciate it. Thanks everybody for tuning in today. And if I can ever be helpful, reach out. And here's to great downtowns across the country, but especially downtown Milwaukee.
I love it. Matt, any final words for Milwaukee Downtown?
Thank you, Jason. And obviously, what else can you add? I mean, Beth is absolutely amazing. It's an incredible honor to come to work with Beth every single day. You had mentioned it, you go across the nation to IDA, thousands of downtown leaders. Everybody knows Beth coast to coast. She's absolute inspiration. I think, certainly one of Milwaukee's biggest assets. And, as anybody that's tuned in here can certainly understand what a privilege it is to learn. If I can learn just, a little bit from Beth, it just makes me better. And since the day I joined the bid, she's just impressive every single day. So it just amazing. It's a nice job. And from obviously Beth, amazing. Jason, nice job, and way to be resilient there with the little technical issues. So we look forward to the next exchange. So continue to follow us, and we'll have more information for the next one very soon.
Absolutely, he's right. Well, hopefully we'll see you at our next. We got 4 more coming up later this year with some important topics. Thank you all for joining us, and most importantly, thank you for supporting our downtowns. Hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you downtown soon.